Hey everybody, this is Deshay Peacock of Sweet Spot Style. So glad that you're here. Thanks for coming, everybody. You're going to see my face for just a little bit, and hopefully you'll see the chat box down below this video. And go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell me who you are and where you're from and what you hope to get out of this class. And I'll do my best to answer all of your questions. So pretty soon I'm going to switch over to screen share, and I'm going to show you a presentation, and we'll be on that for a while. And then I'll click back over here and answer your questions. But my friend Stacia is here, and she's monitoring the chat, so all of your comments will get answered and read, and whatever comments don't get answered, you can contact me via email or Facebook as well. Okay, but I'm sure we'll get to all of your questions because it's a smaller class than usual. Usually I have around 100, and I think maybe I have around 40 of you guys on here live. So this will be awesome. I'm really excited. And I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to the screen share now. This is gonna look funny for just a minute, but don't worry about it. Let's see, let's present to everybody. It gives you this crazy looking black screen for just a minute. Here we go. I believe this should be working soon. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so again, this is Deshay, founder of Sweet Spot Style, and the class that we are having today is how to stand out online. So I did a little research, and I guess the funny thing was I found out, I was searching somebody's blog, and I read this statistic, and it said that 525 women were starting online businesses every day. And then, of course, you know how it is when you find something interesting online, you go back to try to find out who said that and where that fact came from, and I couldn't find it anywhere, but I did find out that 1,200 women start a new business each day, and that statistic comes from the 4th Annual State of Women-Owned Business Report. And then I did find another statistic that said 40% of workforce will be freelancers by 2020. So you can kind of deduct that probably about a little less than half of the women who are starting businesses each day are going to be online, and that figure is just going to grow. So that can either scare you or that can excite you. So for me, that kind of excites me because I love to see women creating a business and life that they love, where they have freedom to work from home and be with their children when they want to, work their own hours. So it can be awesome for women in general, but it can also be kind of scary if you're one of them and you're starting your own business now, or you're even thinking about it, because you can imagine, like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of people starting new businesses every single day. And how am I going to stand out? How am I going to compete? So I guess you could see this as bad news or good news, but you can't really compete with that many people. I think that there are at least 3 million blogs online now. So to try to compete in an online world is very difficult to do. So don't even try to compete. Instead, see your competition as irrelevant and focus on you. That is how you can make yourself stand out, because there's only one of you. There's only one person that encapsulates your personality and your story and your life experiences, and so that is how you can stand out. Now, I've heard this before a lot. I've heard this this message that you can stand out by being you, but that's always honestly confused me. I'm like, but I don't understand that. So I just thought I would break that down today. Okay, so how can you set yourself apart as different? So figure out what makes you different. And hint, it has to do with your story. Now, we all have lots of stories, but we're going to talk about today the story that's going to attract your ideal client to you. And we're going to talk about how you can figure out what stories are going to cause an emotional response that are going to help people remember you and your business, because that's really the point. So this is what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about how to use your story and your voice to stand out online. I'm going to share with you how I do it, and how I'm going to give you some case studies of how other people do it, as well as I want to share with you my new program, Sweet Spot Style Your Business, and I have some new bonuses that will be awesome. And then we're going to take your questions. Okay, so who am I? I am an author, a lifestylist, and a retreat leader. I help people get into their sweet spot in their life and in their business. So I've had over 40 jobs in my life, and I'm about to turn 40, so that that can kind of illustrate that, yes, I have had a lot of jobs in my life, many jobs I haven't even had for a year. At some points in my life, I've had up to 7 jobs at one time, and my whole existence has been trying to figure out how to live in my higher purpose. And for me, that's very related to career. And so I've always felt like I was supposed to do something really important with my life, and whatever it was coming through my career. Now, I know a lot of people are, they have different ideas about how to live through their higher purpose. And some people, it's just, I want to show love in my life. I want to be a loving partner to my wife, or I want to be a loving partner, or I want to be a loving parent. My purpose in life is to be an awesome parent. But for me, it really has to do with career and really finding work that really lights me up, that I feel I can help other people with in their life to figure out what they're doing in their life. So, and I've just come to this conclusion, so it's taken me a long time, because I'm also very multi-passionate, interested in lots of different things. But for me, it's very, very, very important. In fact, I have must highlighted there in pink, because I must do meaningful creative work in my life, or else I get wonky. I get pain, physical pain in my body, I get headaches, I get tired, and actually get a little bit depressed. So how does my story resonate with my ICA? And by ICA, that I mean Ideal Client Avatar. That's a little B-School talk for any of you B-Schoolers in there. You know what that means, but anybody who hasn't taken B-School, ICA is your Ideal Client Avatar, or if you have a retail business, that's your customer. So I'm a multi-passionate creative who helps people find their higher purpose doing work they love. So if there's somebody out there who feels like they're struggling to figure out what their work is, if they're creative, if they're multi-passionate, if they've struggled with this exact same issue, then they're going to be drawn to my story. They're going to have an emotional reaction to my story, and they're going to be drawn to me. So that's why I told you that story. So hopefully you understand that I'm modeling this through my story. I'm sharing my story with you, just as I hope that you are sharing your story with your ideal clients. So how can you do that? That could be through webinars like this. It could be through podcast. It could be in your blog. It can be on your website. It can be on your About page. It can be through live events where you're actually, introducing yourself. So lots of different ways where you're sharing your story. And so now I'd like to hear from you. Do you struggle with what story to tell in your business? And how do you wonder how personal to go? So this is really for, I'm sort of thinking, as I'm giving this presentation, I'm sort of thinking about lifestyle brands like coaches and stylists and bloggers. And so lots of these brands are related on your personality, or who you are. And so that's a question I've heard. Well, how personal do I go? Like, how much should I share? So if you have a question about, let me know, and we can address that. But also, even if you don't have a lifestyle business, like say that you're a retail shop, say that you have a little shop and you want to grow your online presence, I want you to not give up on this presentation. I want you to think about how you can use this information in your own business. So what story does your business have that you can share that's going to connect people? How are they going to remember you? So I'll give you a little example. I'm working with a store downtown called Altiplano. It's one of my favorite stores. They have just a great shop, and the owner's amazing. And I think most people don't know that she also is a designer, and she travels to Guatemala and she makes this gorgeous handmade jewelry, and she works with Guatemalan women, and it's all fair trade, and it's helping that economy. But that's not a big part of their story in their retail shop. And so, that's a way that she could that's a way that she could share that story and maybe find more people who are attracted to fair trade and just kind of understand more about, on a personal level, what her shop is about. So that's an example for retail shop. And even if, you're looking for a job, you still need to stand out in the market. So how can you stand out? So maybe it's not your personal story, but maybe it's more of like what stands out for you in your life experience, your education, or your skills. Okay, so think broadly and apply this to your story. Apply this to your circumstance. Okay, so I'm going to stop for just a second and check in with Stacia. Do we have any comments or questions?
Yep, Dot from Brattleboro.
Hey Dot, how you doing? So I'm reading your comment. Yes, my story is so long with many personal aspects. I wonder how much of my struggle to share, even if it shows how I got here. I don't want to project negativity. Oh, Dot, I love, 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 love that question. And because I know you, this is going to be easy for me to answer. So everybody, can I just share a little bit about you? Dot lives in my neighborhood here in Brattleboro, and she is an amazing gardener and designer, landscape person, and very talented. So Dot, I would say this. Think about how your story relates to your customers and why are you telling this particular story. Now, if you're telling a story about how, for example, I know, Dot, that you you're writing a blog about gardening and you're sharing information about that, and you told me that you're starting to write a book that explains all the plants of New England, right? And so your struggle was that you couldn't find a book that made you happy, that explained all the plants in New England. And so part of your story could be, hey, I'm Dot and I'm a gardener. And when I first started out, I couldn't find a resource that was going to help me with particular plants that I needed to plant in my garden in New England. So see how that story is very relatable to your customer. Your customer is going to be somebody in New England who wants to buy your book, who wants to learn about gardening in New England. Okay. Now, I also know that you've had some health issues. And so to go into deeply about your health issues, how is that going to relate? And I'm just guessing, I'm just making a scenario here. If you're addressing people who have health issues and are gardening, then yes, you can go into that. That could be inspirational for someone. But if your customer isn't going to relate to that story because they just want to know about planting, for example, then you might not mention it, or you might not mention it very much. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? Okay, any other questions or comments right now, Stacia?
The only one is from Tracy Grenier. She used to live in Brattleboro, and her old roommate, Denise Blair, used to work at Altiplano. Does she still?
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't think so. But hi, Tracy.
I used to live here. She's a
you're a Penn. Yes. SIT. Yay, SIT. Yeah, I actually used to work at Altiplano as well when I moved here to Brattleboro about 10 years ago. And I was in grad school. I worked at Altiplano, but I don't remember anybody named Denise. So I don't think so. Okay, so anyway, so I want to go ahead and share some other stories with you about successful entrepreneurs online and how they use their story. So I'm really focusing sort of on your story. There is a lot that goes into getting attention online, and this could be like a 6-month course. So I'm just focusing on this, but I'm also going to bring in a little bit about brand and how your brand also can help people remember who you are online and attract your ideal customer. So the first one I want to share about is a girl named Hillary Rushford of Dean Street Society. And I was thinking about her this weekend, and I'll tell you why. It's because I went to New York City for the weekend for a fast 24-hour fun time, and I went to see the Rockettes. And I could not help but think about Hillary Rushford, because part of her story is that she was a Rockette in New York City, and she was also sort of a starving artist. So she had this amazing career as a Rockette, but in between the times where she wasn't on tour or performing, she had to do random jobs like be a waitress at some tennis match. She talks about this in her webinar sometimes. And you can just imagine her in this little white uniform serving cocktails to people, and they don't know she's a Rockette, and how it makes her feel small. She talks about that. And so because I've heard her story, when I went to New York and I saw the Rockettes, I thought of her. Okay, so that's an example of how I've been emotionally connected to her through something that she did. Also, of course, being a Rockette is going to give her some clout, and she's a personal stylist. And so you're going to look at her and think, wow, like she's accomplished, she's a creative, she's doing something that most people, haven't done before, couldn't do. And so that gives her a lot of clout as well. So, and that's part of her story. But then the other thing that's interesting is that if you go on her page, which maybe you can stick the link in there, Stacia, of her About Me page, at the bottom of her page, she talks about her, and she has a photo collage of the things that she likes. And she often has pictures, and she talks about how she likes college football. Now, that could practically almost turn me off because I absolutely hate sports of any kind and all kind. But it's interesting to me that she puts that in there and that she puts that in part of her story, because I think what it does is makes her feel like the girl next door. So even though she's been a Rockette and she lives in New York City and has a successful career, she also likes college football. And so it kind of makes her seem like a normal person. Because here's the thing, you want to connect with people. And so if people think, well, of course you can be successful, of course you can be awesome in your business, because look, you were a Rockette, you were already awesome. So I think that's probably why she inserts the fact that she likes college football, because it's sort of, down to earth and, with the people. So her brand, if you just look at this one picture, now if you look on her Instagram account and you look on her website, you'll see that her branding is very consistent. It's always beautiful images, very elegant, very stylish. She appeals to dreamers. She also appeals to the girl next door. And her message is sort of creative people can make money in business too. That's one of her messages. Okay, so Marie Forleo. Now, a lot of you are going to know her story. If you did B-School, you'll know her story as well, but maybe you haven't heard of Marie Forleo. So she's a huge online internet marketing guru, and her story is that she started off on Wall Street. So she often mentions this in her free videos. I started off in Wall Street, but it wasn't right for me. Okay, so that's sort of like the Rockette thing. It's like, just by knowing that she worked on Wall Street, we know she's smart. Then she worked on MTV and she made hip hop videos. And so, again, from that, we can remember her. My cat's scratching, sorry. That's getting on my nerves. Anyway, focus. So Marie Forleo, she often inserts really funny clips and makes references to 90s hip hop music, which is just really funny. And so sometimes when I think about 90s hip hop music, or if she has a song that was on there, I'll think about her. And then the quirky thing that she adds is she often has little things on Smurfs. She likes Smurfs and she likes zombies. Okay, so zombies and Smurfs make her quirky. They make her stick out. So she's not just, somebody who was super smart and worked on Wall Street, and she's not somebody who's like an amazing dancer. She's also kind of quirky and likes these unusual things. And her quote is, everything is figure outable. So again, she's trying to show you like, yes, I'm smart, I'm the expert, but also you can do this too. Even the average person can do this too. You can make money on your business and you can figure it out, and I can teach you how. Okay, so being on the online world, being around lots of life coaches and following their stories, there's one common story that sticks out online, and it's this. XYZ person has this corporate job in the corporate world, and they're super successful, but they're unhappy in their life. So they quit their job to pursue their dream, and they're successful, making tons of money online. So I see this story a lot, and then it's like, okay, and you can too. So that's just a model of, that's a common story, but you can model this yourself. Like, I was successful in some area of my life, but I wasn't happy, or maybe I was super happy, and now I'm pursuing my dream, and it's like a success story. It's sort of like, what's your inspirational story that you can share that's going to attract your customer, your client? Okay, so what if I'm not a Rockette or a hip hop star or working corporate? Am I beeped? No, you're not. there's tons of models of different stories out there. You don't have to be like, oh, I was this amazing, like, successful designer, but then I was so bored with my model life that I gave up my $500,000 job to start this business. And you can too. That doesn't have to be your model. Now, if that's your story, that's awesome. But I wanted to share with you this other story of Kimra Luna, who's also an online marketing person. And I just love her story because it's so different, but it's authentic. It's her. It's really her. And she shares it freely. Now, her story is that she grew up on welfare. And she led this sort of punk lifestyle. And she got married, and she ended up moving around a lot. And they got caught up. She and her husband got caught up in the bad economy. They already had 2 kids, and she's just had a 3rd kid. But during that time, she lived with her in-laws for 5 years. So here's a woman on welfare, 2 small children, living with her in-laws, and decides to start a business. And now she's super successful. So, excuse me, can you just let him out? So she's super successful, and she's making, I don't know how much she's making now, but probably several $100,000 a year now, but just 3 years ago, that was her story, and she shares it. So her message is, you don't need a lot. You don't need a lot of money or resources to get started. You can still do it. Anybody can do it. And I just love that. I love that story because often, you can make excuses for yourself too. You can say, well, of course, that person can do it because they're single. They don't have children. Well, Kimra's got children. It's like, oh, of course they can do it. They have tons of money to invest in their business. Well, Kimra didn't have tons of money. And if she took out she took $5,000 in credit card loan to get started. But that's, that's pretty manageable. I think most of us can find a little bit of money. Anyway, the point is not how much money you have to start with. The point is that she's using her story to share with you an inspiring message about how she did it and how basically you can too. And we remember that about her, and we like her for that. Okay, so have you heard of Oprah Winfrey? I think so, right? Here's just another example of somebody who grew up poor, had a very speckled background, was abused, but still has a strong sense of self. Her brand is that she's very authentic, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, very spiritual message. And of course, we all know her message is really to believe in yourself. So when we think about Oprah, we think about those things. When we think about Kimra, we think about her story. When we think about Hillary, I think about the Rockettes. So do you see the message here? Okay, so, oh no! What if I didn't come from poverty? What if I didn't have a crazy family life? Am I beat? No. So answer me this. What makes you stand out? How can you emotionally connect with your ideal client? There's got to be something in your story, in your life, in your experience that is going to connect. And it might just be why you were motivated to start this business. Okay, I'm going to stop here for just a second. We have a comment or question from Tracy. How do I get over the idea that I get sick at the idea of having to brand myself? Okay, well, you don't have to call it branding yourself. So let's think about marketing in a different way, okay? Because I know that a lot of people get freaked out at the word branding, at marketing, and the word sales, okay? So if you think about that, you have a gift. Everyone's born with a gift. And you're here on this earth to share that gift. But you can't share it with everybody because not everybody needs it. So your job is to find the people who can benefit from your gift. Now, there's going to be some people that don't need it, and they're just going to be like, no, thank you. But it's really part of your job to find those people who can benefit from what you have to give, what you have to offer. Because in the end, whatever you're doing, you're helping people in some way. I'm assuming you're helping people in some way. Most businesses are about providing a service or providing something that benefits people in their lives in some way. I mean, we could get into a philosophical discussion around that, but that's the stance I'm taking with this conversation. So you have to switch your mindset. Instead of thinking I'm bothering someone, to I am just helping to find the person that needs my help. And I have to go through a lot of people to find those people. But once I find those people, then we're just a good match. It's almost like dating. Do you know, if you have, when you're dating, sometimes you have to go through a lot of kind of icky boyfriends to find like the right one or girlfriend. You have to go through a lot of bad eggs sometimes to get the one. But it's good to go through those, because then you know for sure that you're with the right person. That's sort of how it is with marketing. Like in the beginning, you market to the masses a little bit, but then you sort of hone in your message to find the right person who can benefit from you. And the same thing, Tracy, with, working for a corporation or for a business. It's just the same thing. Just imagine that you're interviewing them just like they're interviewing you, and you're just trying to find the right match. Okay, I hope that helps. Anything else right now?
Suzanne Kingsbury says, it's fascinating to see what really stands out: welfare, abused, and poor, hip hop.
Yeah, it is interesting. And there's other stories too. Like I think about Nikki Elridge, who's a communication stylist. I had her in here, but I took her out because I was just too many stories. But her story, what I remember about her story is that she was a park ranger, and she's married to a military guy, and she has a little baby, and it's a very normal life. But what sticks out for me about her is that she was passionate about communication. And so she also took B-School, and she put an offer out there, didn't even have a website, put an offer out there, and she was like, hey, I'm good at writing. Can I help you guys? Can I write your opt-in offer? Can I work on your sales page? And so many people took her up on that offer that she ended up, I think she booked $60,000 worth of clients in the first 3 months without even having a website. And then, of course, then she invested that money. Now she has a beautiful website, and she has a thriving business, and it all happened very quickly. But, that's just kind of a normal, everyday girl, and I like her story as well. So again, it's not, you don't have to have these very dramatic stories. It really depends on who you're trying to attract. And I think Nikki Elridge attracts, sort of the everyday girl who really is inspired. Maybe they're a stay-at-home mom. Maybe they're a military family. And, they're like, wow, how can I make a little bit of money online? What's my business? Okay, so let me break it down a little bit further. And I think this will help with that conversation as well for Suzanne. Hi, Suzanne. Thanks for being here anyway. So what are your skills, experience, or education? And now I'm going to bring in Stacia. Since you're sitting here, Stacia, it's kind of reminding me of like your story. So Stacia was in the Peace Corps in Moldova, and now she's a stylist. But, part of her story is that she's not just a personal stylist who tells everybody to go out and buy expensive clothes. She's very mindful about her values, and it comes through in the experience of being a Peace Corps volunteer of how can we be sustainable and also be beautiful. And so that's her message. So that's another example of how you can use your values and your personality to connect with your ideal client. And that's also branding, okay? So were you successful at something before but unhappy? There's that same model we talked about. Do you have experience that shaped you or motivated you? Now, this can be anything, right? So this could be that you were overweight and you figured out how to become thin, or you were underweight and you learned how to gain weight, or you were shy and you learned how to be more outgoing, or you were rich, but then you decided you were miserable at being rich. And so, or you were poor and then you became rich. So think about yourself, okay? Think about what is going to attract your customer within your own personal experience. And don't get bogged down that it's not good enough or it's not interesting enough. It will be to the right person. Okay, and then the last one, what is your testimony? I love this. So Iyanla Vanzant has a quote, and it is, you have to have a test to have a testimony. So this is really for people who are kind of just starting out in your business and you're trying to figure out what your business is, especially if you're a service provider and you're helping people. Think about what struggles you've had in your life. And that's usually a clue to how you're going to help other people. Okay. So, for example, let's see if I can think of a good example for that. I've talked to a lot of people recently who've had adrenal fatigue syndrome or chronic fatigue syndrome. They were working really hard in a job that didn't light them up, and they got physically ill, and they were kind of out of the job market for a while. They connected back to themselves. They did a lot of healing. They did a lot of, yoga and exercise and that kind of thing. And now they're wanting to be life coaches so that they can help other women. Maybe they're helping other women who are on the cusp of about to be getting sick because they're in a job that they hate. Maybe they're that person in that corporate job. And so, maybe the person who is coming out of that wants to help them. Do you know what I mean? So that's a good example of how use your own life experience. Think about where you've struggled, because that's a clue to how you can help other people. So, and we have lots of stories to tell. There's so many different stories that I could put up on my website or that I can share with you today. But again, just to kind of rehash, what's going to emotionally resonate with your client and how does it relate to what you are selling? Okay, so I love the question Dot asked, I'm in New England and I'm, marketing, I'm writing this blog for plants. So you want your story to relate to what you're selling, basically, in some way. Okay, so getting your story out there and how to cultivate your voice. And Suzanne, I'm glad you're here because I'm going to talk about you in number 3. But I think that it takes time to cultivate your voice, and I think it takes practice. So before I even started Sweet Spot Style, I had already written 250 blog posts on the Deshay Show. And then after that kind of prepped me to write my book. And I first found my voice doing those 250 blog posts. So I don't think I could have just, jumped in to write my book without having those blog posts. And for you, it might be that you just need to, work on your blog on your website for a while before you really find your voice. So that's a common question I hear a lot is like, well, I'm interested in lots of different things, so where do I start? And it's like, well, you know what? You can guess where the best place to start is, and you could actually spend a few years trying to figure out where the best place to start is. You could do research. You could do a survey. And those things are good, but the best thing to do is just start writing. Surround yourself with other people who are writing as well. That you can do that by reading other blogs, reading blogs that are in your field, or sales copy on web pages that are in your field. Read and get a feel for how they're doing it, and that might inspire you or give you a model of how you can do it too. And get support. And so, Suzanne Kingsbury, you know that I've been in your salon, your writing salon, and I spent lots of time in salon while I was writing my book. Now, Suzanne knows that when I went to the first salon, I was incredibly shy and timid. I felt out of my league. I was with a lot of creative writers, and they were writing all this amazing stuff, and I was scared to even read my nonfiction stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, it's just not good enough. And I feel like my face was hot and red, my voice was cracking because I had to read it. But I kept going back because it made me a better writer. So put yourself in situations where you're feeling a little uncomfortable that stretches you, and that can help you find your voice. And of course, there's tons of classes. One class that I took in the beginning was Blogging Your Way by Holly Becker, and she teaches all kinds of blogging classes on how to find your voice, how to figure out what to blog about, and that kind of thing. And practice. Practice sharing your story online or at live events. Okay, so I'd love to know, what have you learned so far? How can you use your personal story to stand out from the crowd? Do you have any ideas? I'd love to know. Tell me in the chat. And let's just rehash here a little bit. We're coming to the end. So if I can just be myself and tell my story, I'll stand out and I'll be a total success, right? Well, I wish it were that easy. And I hate to let you down, but that's sort of one step of many. Okay, it's an important one, but it's not the whole story. Your story is part of making yourself visible online, but it's not everything. There's tons of other stuff that you can do. And like I said, you know, if I could talk to you one-on-one, then I could help you and figure that out for you, what's right for you. But basically, in a generic sense, to sort of help everybody on this webinar, to stand out online, you also need to market your butt off. You know, you have to put yourself out there, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're selling, even if you're applying for a job. You don't even have any desire to start a business. You're just going to apply for a job. You know, you have to put yourself out there constantly. You have to brand your business and you have to brand yourself. If you hate the word branding, think of it as sharing your gift in a way that's cohesive and that makes sense in a message. It's a package, basically. And authentic. It's authentically you, right? And so let me just stop for just a second about that. We are bombarded with messages constantly being marketed to and constant information coming at us. And so if you can think of branding as a way to make it easy for people to see what you're about and what you have to offer, that's really what branding is. You know, so it's being consistent. If you'll notice that if you've been on several of my webinars lately, you'll see that all of my webinars sort of have the same colors and the same fonts and the same format. And I try to do that with my website and with my newsletter so that if you see that, you're connected with that. And if I switched over to something totally different, if I started talking about something different, if I started talking about how awesome dogs are and you should be a pet owner, that would just confuse you. And you'd be like, I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know what she's offering. So that's also part of branding. And of course, if you want to stand out online, then you have to give crazy value. If you have a blog, then you have to blog your heart out. You have to give great information. If you are a coach, you might have to give free sessions. You might do free clarity calls. If you're a stylist, you might give free workshops. Whatever it is your business is, the whole new model of marketing is you give first and then you receive. You give, and then people start to say, trust you, know, like, and trust you, and say, okay, I want some of that. That's valuable, and I'm totally willing to pay for it. Okay. So another thing is you need to be clear on your offering. So you need to know what they want, and you need to know what you want to give. And above all, keep going. This is a lot of work, and it's easy to give up. And a lot of those people, those 1,200 women that are starting businesses every day, a lot of them are going to start, and they're going to start off strong, and then they're going to give up. And the way that you can be successful is if you just keep going. Okay, so I'm not sure why you're here. Maybe it's because you need support creating or growing your sweet spot style business, or you want to attract your ideal clients, or you need help learning how to do the work you love and stand out from the crowd. So I'm guessing you're here because you need some assistance. So I'm going to try to hop over here to my website, and I want to share with you this program that I'm working on. And again, you know, this may not be for everybody, but I've got to practice what I preach, and I have to tell you what I have to offer. And maybe there's somebody watching who's like, you know what, I need that so badly. I want to talk to Deshay. I want to figure out how to do this for my own business. You get a glimpse of what I'm offering, but I need more. And if that's for you, awesome. And if it's not for you, great. I'll still keep doing free webinars, and maybe you will watch all of them. So basically, I have 2 spots left in my VIP program, and I have 4 spots in my group program left. And I have 2 new bonuses. So I'm going to see if I can screen share this. I hope that you're seeing my business page here, if not now, shortly. And this is Sweet Spot Style Your Biz, and Stacia can send you a link to this. And this is what it is. Basically, I have 2 different programs. One is a VIP program. Let me get down to that, where it's one-on-one, and we work together for 3 months. And the second one is the group program. Here we go. 2 options to your sweet spot. So one is the VIP Sweet Spot Style Your Biz. We talk on the phone or Skype every 2 weeks for 3 months, and we deep dive into, you know, helping you with your business and your life, making sure that you're starting the right business or you're growing the business that you already have. We talk about social media marketing, we talk about how to attract your client, and we also go through my 7-step signature system, which I'll share with you in a second. And the second option is to Sweet Spot Style your business group. And this starts next week. I'm actually going to close the cart on Wednesday. So you have 2 days, 2.5 days. And I've done a little survey with my people who are in the group, and I'm going to wait until Wednesday before we actually start the class. So you'll get your first materials, and we're actually going to start the next week because I want to make sure everybody can be live on the call or the webinar. And so I'm just doing a little assessment to make sure that everybody can be on it. So we have people in the East Coast and the West Coast, and we'll just make sure that everybody can get on. So basically, what is that group? We're going to be going over the same 7-step sessions. We're going to be talking via teleseminar or webinar once a week together, and we're going to have a private Facebook group, and you'll have email support between the sessions. You'll have a call with me beforehand, and you'll have a call with me after as well. So that's the new bonus, is that, so the first bonus was you would get a call with me, an hour call before we start, and the second bonus is I'm going to give another hour call at the end. It's not even on here, but I promise I'll withhold that. Not withhold that, I'll offer that for you. And the bonus for both, the new bonus for both of these is through Vianda Maria, who has given us a Gypset Guide to Releasing Rituals, which is this beautiful 7-day program for letting go. And you can use it to let go of negative beliefs or grief or anything else that's holding you back from starting the business that you love. So those are the 2 new bonuses. Now I'm just going to quickly go up here and share with you the 7 steps that we go through. So with the group coaching, that's the 7 steps that we'll go through each week. You'll receive PDF materials and worksheets, workbooks. So you'll be working on your own, and then we'll have the calls as well. And the calls will be recorded, so if you miss some time, don't worry, you'll get the recording. So the 7-step Sweet Spot Style system is week 1 is on clarity, making sure, getting really clear that you know what you want to do in your business and your life. Writing a clear, positive intention to get you there. Releasing negative beliefs. Again, you'll have this beautiful 7-day program from Vianda to use, as well as some other tips that I use in my life and other people have used. I'll give you case studies on how to release these negative beliefs. Action. It's not just about, dreaming. It's very much about taking action. You'll have assignments that you and I will come up with every week, and you will be responsible for taking action towards what you say you're going to do. You'll be accountable to me and to the group. We're going to talk about faith and how important that is in this process, how to get support outside of this group, and then, of course, the key to it all, gratitude. So that's the 7-step system, and if you go with a VIP option, then that's very customizable to whatever you are doing in your life. I have people who have signed up for that who are they're not starting a business, but they're in a career transition, and they just need help with that. And the group coaching is really better for people who are starting a business. It's because it's a group program. It's not as customizable, but it's awesome. And you'll have a lot of my attention. You'll have email support with me too. So, and one more thing is, if you do sign up for the VIP option, you get to be in the group as a bonus. So everybody who's a VIP will have access to the group as a gigantic bonus. So that's the program. Now let me know if you have any questions about that or questions about anything else. I'm just going to go ahead and get off screen share here. Here we go. So are there any questions right now? Any questions or comments? Nope. Okay. Well, I hope that was helpful for you, and I'd love to hear from you how you are going to use your story to attract your ideal clients and customers, and how you can stand out online. So send me a note at deshay@sweetspotstyle.com or on Facebook, and let me know if this was helpful and what you plan to do. Awesome. All right. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.